Have you ever wondered what triggers a conflict that spirals into a full-blown war? Today, we delve into the events of October 7, 2023, that sparked the latest Israel-Palestine conflict. On this fateful day, an attack orchestrated by Hamas sent shockwaves through Israel, marking a dark turn in an already tense situation. The ripple effects of this assault were felt far beyond the immediate devastation and loss of life. It shook the financial world as well, causing a significant weakening of Israel's shekel. Investors, seeking stability amidst the chaos, swiftly shifted their assets into safe havens like gold, treasury bonds, and the ever-resilient dollar. As the shekel took a nosedive, hitting an 8-year low, the Bank of Israel found itself in a precarious position. With short positions on the shekel reaching their highest level since January of the same year, the central bank pledged to sell over $30 billion of dollar reserves in a bid to support the faltering currency. Yet this move presented a double-edged sword. The bank faced a difficult choice between keeping interest rates low to bolster the economy or raising borrowing costs to stave off further depreciation of the shekel. A delicate balancing act indeed. As the shekel plummeted to an 8-year low, the tensions in the Middle East were just beginning to escalate. As the conflict intensified, it wasn't just Israel and Palestine in the crosshairs. The world watched anxiously as the potential for a wider Middle Eastern conflict loomed. President Joe Biden's visit to Israel, intended to show solidarity amidst the escalating turmoil, took an unexpected turn. A hospital in Gaza was attacked just before his arrival, sparking outrage and fueling fears of a broader regional war. Israel's national security advisor predicted that the U.S. could be drawn into the fray if the conflict escalated to involve Iran and Hezbollah. Accusations flew thick and fast. Hamas and several Middle Eastern countries placed the blame squarely on Israel for the hospital attack, while Israel claimed it was the result of a misfired Palestinian rocket. Iran and Hezbollah, meanwhile, sought to fan the flames of anger in the Muslim world over the incident. Tensions simmered in the West Bank, raising concerns that Israel could be lured into a trap that would drag the U.S. into a wider conflict. As a warning to Hezbollah and Iran, the U.S. deployed 2 aircraft carriers off the coast of Israel. Experts believe that should Israeli forces struggle to repel attacks on multiple fronts, the U.S. would likely intervene. Hezbollah, with its large arsenal of rockets capable of penetrating Israel's air defense system, poses a greater threat than Hamas. If the U.S. were to step in to defend Israel, one of its core missions would involve neutralizing Hezbollah's missile launchers. Yet the likelihood of the U.S. deploying troops in Israel seemed remote due to domestic opposition. Any involvement could, however, provoke attacks by Iran's allies. Striking Hezbollah targets in Syria could invite retaliation from Russia, while pro-Iranian groups in other countries could target U.S. sites in the region. Such an escalation could pressure the U.S. into striking Iran itself, a move that would be disastrous for all parties involved. While the chances of U.S. troops deployment in Israel seemed remote, the shifting dynamics of the conflict suggested a complex, uncertain future. As the world held its breath, Israel took decisive action, expanding its military operations into Gaza. The Israel Defense Forces, commonly known as the IDF, pushed forward, their numbers swelling as the situation escalated. Airstrikes, a terrifying testament to the severity of the conflict, became a near-constant phenomenon, their echoes reverberating through the region, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. The residents of Gaza found themselves caught in the crossfire, their homes becoming the front line of a war they didn't ask for. Amidst the chaos, reports of clashes with Israeli armored vehicles and infantry began to emerge, painting a grim picture of the ground reality. The response from Gaza was swift and fierce, rockets lighting up the sky in a desperate attempt to repel the advancing forces. The cost of the conflict was high, the toll it took on human life staggering. The Palestinian Health Ministry, under the administration of Hamas, reported a heartbreaking 377 deaths in just one day. The spark that ignited this deadly counter-assault was a series of terror attacks by Hamas on October 7th, claiming more than 1,400 lives in Israel and resulting in hostages being taken to Gaza. In the face of international outcry and calls for a ceasefire, Israel stood its ground. Their aim was clear. They would not rest until the hostages were released, and Hamas's network of tunnels, the veins through which the lifeblood of their resistance flowed, was dismantled. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, the United States watched closely, their military force in the region increasing in response to the escalating conflict. Their role, for now, was to aid in Israel's defense, a show of solidarity in a time of crisis, but their presence hinted at the potential for a broader involvement if the situation continued to deteriorate. With the conflict far from resolution, and the possibility of a wider war looming, the events of October 7th have triggered a ripple effect that continues to shape the Middle East. In the face of such intricate and far-reaching conflict, it is essential to understand the key points. The trigger was the Hamas attack on October 7th, which not only shook Israel but also rippled through the world economy, weakening the shekel significantly. The potential for the conflict to escalate into a wider Middle Eastern conflict looms large, with fears of U.S. involvement if Israeli forces struggle to repel multiple attacks. And the ground incursion in Gaza, marked by an increase in IDF troops and continuous airstrikes, has further intensified the situation. As we continue to monitor the situation, the events of October 7th serve as a stark reminder of the fragile balance in the Middle East and the profound impact a single day can have on the course of history.